parochial. This guy.
This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens, and a special hello to somebody joining us virtually in the anxiety chamber this week, Mr. Tom Merritt. Hello, sir.
Feels so good to be here. I'm here with you, listening every week, and it's nice that you're responding to what I say this time.
I have to say, there's always this thing where it's always surprising when you're somebody who makes stuff and all of your friends make stuff when you like each other's stuff. Like, you always like each other's stuff, but it's like,
Sure.
there's so much stuff in the world.
A lot of stuff.
And so you're always like, I wish I listened to your stuff more, but I don't. So it's always surprising and always like very flattering to me when somebody I know who I like, who makes things that I enjoy is like, oh yeah, I listen to your stuff. I'm just like, you don't have to.
Dude, I not only listened to it, I missed it when it was gone. Like it's my dog walking companion.
Well, bless your heart, as somebody who fully owns 30% of podcast real estate.
It's true.
At this point in time, it's an honor to hear that from you, man.
And we took great pains and great expense to extend the anxiety chamber beyond the confines of our previous studio. Now, the anxiety chamber, it's everywhere. I think people feel it. I think they feel it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that listen, the ends don't justify the means by any stretch of the imagination, but I am glad that everybody's up at my baseline now and kind of seeing the world that I always have, the way that I always have,
Yeah.
I like to feel that the anxiety chamber are the fears we felt along the way.
Yeah, exactly. The fears were inside you all along, Tom. All right.
When there was only one breath caught in your lungs. That's when this podcast was carrying
That's
you.
one of the new symptoms.
Unfortunately. I have a story here that I find delightful, and I there's some quality about it that seems very Tom Merritt to me. You guys will have to be the judge. This was sent to us on our Facebook group, posted there by Steve Heap. Thank you, Steve. This is facebook.com/groups/we have concerns. And this is a story in Atlas Obscura, which is a website I enjoy.
Love Atlas Obscura.
Yeah, it's all about strange locations, very interesting geographical anomalies, quirks of our planet. And I'm a big fan of quirks of any kind.
Yeah. They have an excellent book, which was co-authored by my dear friend Ella Morton, and it's really wonderful. And if anybody likes strange travel and strange places, I recommend picking up that book.
I was going to say, I know somebody who worked on that book, and it was also Ella Morton.
Small world. All right, so this is a story about Roger Dickey and his mom, Ellie Talbert, who traveled to a place in the United States that I think is the perfect example of an Atlas Obscura type location. And here is why I think it will tickle Tom Merritt. It certainly tickled me because Tom and I share a certain love of language, and the place that Dickie and his mom decided to visit, it's a place called Moose Boulder, which is the largest.
It better be a boulder that looks like a moose.
You'd think, but it is not. It is, in fact, the largest island in the largest lake on the largest island in the largest lake on the largest island in the largest lake in the world.
Okay. Back it up, Buffalo, Buffalo. Because here's what's going on. If I'm imagining this correctly, and I think that I am, and if you're imagining this at home, I'm picturing like an island that basically looks like a target. I'm picturing like concentric rings of land and water, and in the center is Moose Boulder.
Well, yes, I mean
perfectly concentric.
That's not perfectly concentric, but if you imagine Lake Superior,
like a Pilot Wings level, like where we drop in boys Fortnite style, hit the bullseye and you're in Moose Boulder.
Superior, it's said, never gives up her dead.
That's right. So Lake Superior, the world's largest freshwater lake, has an island in it. The largest island in that largest lake is called Isle Royale. There is a lake.
So this is a Fortnite thing.
It does feel like a Fortnite thing. Yeah, Isle Royale. Yeah, only one person lives at the end. But they get chicken dinner, which is great. So on the island of Isle Royale in Lake Superior is a lake. That island itself has a lake called Siskiwit. Siskiwit has an island called Ryan. And according to Wikipedia, Ryan Island in Siskiwit in Lake Superior on Isle Royale is home to a seasonal pond called Moose Flats. In that pond, when that pond is flooded, there is a tiny island called Moose Boulder.
So Moose Boulder's a stretch, is what you're saying, because it's a pond, not a lake. Like, if you're a lover of language, you have to see that they bent the rules here, Jeff.
What do you think, Tom? Are you intrigued by just the very notion of this sort of matroika of geography?
Well, first of all, being from Illinois, I have to wonder: is it Lake Michigan bigger than Lake Superior?
Well, it has to be. Well, yeah, right? Is it second biggest? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know. Okay, but let's just go with
according to Atlas Obscura, Lake Superior is the world's largest freshwater lake.
Freshwater.
Lake.
Okay.
Well, Michigan's freshwater
Michigan's
too,
freshwater.
but maybe Superior is technically bigger than Michigan. Okay, whatever. Never mind. Doesn't matter, because what's important here is this a boulder? It doesn't sound like it. But what's a boulder, right? Like, yeah, granted,
it should.
Anthony, you're absolutely right. It's a pond, not a lake.
Yeah.
But for poetic reasons, we could call it a lake.
Sure. Right? I mean, it's a body of water, right? It's an island within a body of water within an island within a body of water within an island within a body.
Yeah. And the editor's going to go, body of water, that's kind of clunky. Can you just call it a lake? And you're going to be like, yeah, sure, why not?
So conceptually, it's kind of a neat idea from my perspective, and it was from Mr. Dickey's perspective as well. Roger Dickey and his mom.
Can I tell you what I think is the most interesting thing about this, actually, that makes it kind of cool?
What's that?
In a Republic serial, Indiana Jones, Nathan Drakey kind of way, is the island isn't an island all the time. You have to get there at the exact right time.
It's Brigadoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse, because it turns out that Roger Dickey and his mom, he read about this on Atlas Obscura. He got intrigued. He's the kind of guy who goes around the world finding these kind of fun places. He feels like, it's a really interesting thing to go to the westernmost tip of the westernmost
once again, as a lover of language and a fan of language, Jeff, you have to admit that Roger Dickey does not find these places. He reads about these places and then goes to them.
Visits the places, yes.
He visits the places.
But
he took the boulder, didn't he?
Jeff's a real fan of language until he has an editor, huh?
Yeah, live is a
said
problem
fan of language, not fan of editors.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of speaking. I just like language.
So he makes a habit of going to these places.
He enjoys the idea of visiting strange and unusual places to see that thing. And it turns out, I'll jump to the end of the story. It turns out this thing does not exist.
Whoa.
Moose Boulder does not exist.
I have to retract.
How far does the conspiracy go? Also, how many lakes are fake?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm going to have to retract my recommendation of Ella Morton's book. And I'm sorry to do it.
So this dude, to his credit, did some sleuthing, some internet sleuthing. He decided to try to find out where it is so he could get there. And there's a Wikipedia entry for this thing, and there's an article on Atlas Obscura for this thing. So he started trying to find the people that made those entries. He did a reverse Google image search for some of the folks that had posted things and tracked them down.
Yes.
None of them responded to his messages.
Yes.
He starts...
was it all like the same image? Did he find out that the image all came from the same place? Like everybody was using like one image in their article, that kind of shit?
Well, this is a lot like the picture of Nessie, basically. There is an image of this boulder sticking out of water, and it has some grass and some little shrubs growing on top of it, which kind of like people are like, it's an island because it has things growing on it. It's not just a rock, And so there's this picture that was posted, and there are coordinates that were posted as well.
Great.
So he does this reverse image search, can't find anybody or can't get any response from anybody that posted any of the images or coordinates. So he keeps going. He goes to the Wikipedia page for Siskiwit Lake. He gets in touch with the Wikipedia user who had edited that page in 2012 to include information about Moose Boulder. And that person pointed him to a book called Superior Wilderness, Isle Royale National Park, which, by the way, is a fascinating place because it is literally the least visited national park in the country. No one goes here.
Is it the smell? What is it?
No, it's the fake news.
Yeah, it's the fact that everything in the park is made up. When you get there and like there's the place where you buy like your parking pass for the day and you push it and it's just cardboard.
Moose Flat.
So this is a book by Napier Shelton. So
That's
basically,
not a real name. That dude's fake.
This is the book on Isle Royale, like the book on Isle Royale.
Is Isle Royale real?
Well, the book on Isle Royale has no mention of Moose Boulder in it.
Right.
And you'd think if you're writing the book on Isle Royale, you're going to mention Moose Boulder. Seems like a pretty interesting thing.
I don't know. We don't know how interesting Isle Royale is. Maybe it had to be cut for brevity. Maybe there's so much interesting shit going on in Isle Royale that we don't know about.
Yeah.
You just can't fit it in.
You just can't fit it in. There's so much stuff on Isle Royale.
Yeah.
There's like an interesting hill. There's a very good there's a dock for boats.
There's some algae.
Yeah.
So
I'm
this
already tired, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. You haven't even finished the book yet. You're just in the first chapter. So he goes back to trying to figure out what this picture is and who posted it, right? So he uses the Wayback Machine to get to an older version of the internet.
Yeah.
To find out that the picture was actually attached to a document from a geological research expedition to Ryan Island. Now, Ryan Island, is one layer up. We're in one layer up, or one layer down from Isle Royale.
Okay.
Siskiwit Lake is on Isle Royale, which is on Ryan Island.
No, I think it's the other way around.
The other way
Royale,
around.
Then Siskiwit, then Ryan.
Superior, Siskiwit, Ryan, Royale.
This is the inception of Lake Islands.
If you spin a top on Isle Royale, it just keeps going and going and going.
So check this out. So there's a geological research expedition to Ryan Island.
No, but you still haven't. So Ryan, then Royale, right?
I can go back and double check, but I thought Ryan.
If I'm wrong, it's because I'm not picturing it. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, Ryan is where the seasonal pond is. So Ryan is the deepest island.
Okay.
And that you have the
Royale,
seasonal pond
then Ryan.
of moose. Yes.
Okay.
So it goes Superior, Isle Royale, Ryan, as far as lakes.
Okay.
All right.
I'm with you.
So he gets in touch with a member of that actual research team that did the expedition to Ryan Island. And he says, "Hey, I saw the picture that your team posted of Moose Boulder." And that dude's like, "We never went to Ryan Island. We never got there. We didn't even get there. We had a research expedition to Ryan Island that never made it to Ryan Island."
And the boat that they tried to take there was the Edmund Fitzgerald.
They're all ghosts.
So they got money for an expedition to Ryan Island to do what? Just geological survey, that sort of stuff. Then they turned it in without going to the island?
These are members of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. They never heard of Moose Boulder. Never heard of it. Never even heard of Moose Boulder. Never made it to Ryan Island. The picture that is supposed photographic evidence of Moose Boulder is from their expedition, was taken by them, but is from a completely different place, a completely different rock off the coast of Isle Royale.
And does that one look like a moose?
Anthony, none of them look like a moose.
Wait, so there is a smaller island within an island. It's just not Ryan Island.
It's not the level of inception down that we need for this story to be worth talking about at all.
Wow.
What about Tea Kettle Island?
What? What did you say?
Never.
Okay.
I said,
all right.
So, okay. I
get this.
actually love this because this happens all the time. This is half of our episodes of this show are basically if there's a subgenre of We Have Concerns that is everybody is writing about this thing and everybody is just basing their article on this original article that nobody actually read that was also wrong.
Yes.
And this shit goes back. We blame this on the internet, but this ain't the internet, baby. This is lazy journalism all the way throughout history. Tom, you're a journalist. Comment.
no. Yeah, I'm trained in journalism, but I don't practice. I don't claim to practice it anymore because of this. It's just too hard.
Guys, it
It's
gets
too hard
worse.
to be truthful and factual. And that's why we don't do it anymore.
Gwen Eiffel taught me one thing during my internship, and it was give up now.
So this guy, Roger Dickey, and his mother get there.
Well, okay, it gets worse on the layers of false information because the
guy who wrote this paper pulled off his mask.
No, the actual...
And it was Gordon Lightfoot.
It was a moose.
It was all a moose the whole time. Oh, we'll get to the moose. Don't you worry. There is a moose in this story.
Wait, there's still more. Yeah, because I'm still wondering how the origin of the misunderstanding happened. So carry on.
Get this. The actual Forest Service picks up on this idea that their location has this wonderful anomaly because it's in Atlas Obscura, it's on Wikipedia, and uses it in a press release that we're the home of Moose Boulder, the largest island in the largest lake, and the largest island in the largest lake of the largest island in the largest lake.
This national park is so poorly visited that even the rangers don't go there.
That is true.
Because they hired an intern to write that press release. That intern has never been anywhere inside the park. They're like, I just did a Wikipedia search. Yeah.
Well, it is the least visited park in America. And so, that gets us back to Dickey and his mom, who by this point in his investigation into Moose Boulder have realized he's pretty much certain it does not exist. But he's already booked the trip. And mom's excited. They're going, right?
He hasn't told mom?
He did not tell mom until he picked her up at the airport and went, "Hey, mom, I'm excited about our trip. By the way, Moose Boulder isn't real."
Can I tell you the difference between me and Roger Dickey right now? Can I tell you the difference between me and Roger Dickey right now? The difference between me and Roger Dickey is I go somewhere that seems cool that I want to go, and when I get there, I look for a brochure for a place like Moose Island, right? I'm already here. There's already a ton of cool shit going on. Oh, look, they have a tiny island and a tiny lake and a larger island and a larger lake and a larger... That's fun. Is there a boat that goes there? Let's check it out if we have time. Roger Dickey is like, "Hey, Mom, I know you're getting up there in years. You want to see the world? You want to go out with a bang? I've got the trip for you."
Anthony, that is patently false because I know when you organized your trip to Japan, you told me before you went like 5 places that you were specifically going to because of some weird quirk that happened to be there. So
but
don't
they
try
were
to sell me on this.
already in places that I was going. That's the trick.
And didn't have brochure.
Yeah. That's the trick is I'm already going to Kyoto. Here's this thing that's right in Kyoto. I'll go there, right? I didn't go, well, I have to go to Japan because there's a rock that looks like a duck. You don't fly across the country for that. Or the world.
Let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you. Tom, you have to tell me if this is something that you would do. Because let me tell you how Dickey and his mom got to Isle Royale.
Well, once I
okay?
know they're
And
lying to me, I go. That's the thing. I go to prove the point.
Yeah, well, you have to at that point. They got there by seaplane, stayed overnight at a lodge on Rock Harbor, then caught a water taxi to Malone Bay,
Sure.
the embarkation
this
point
time of year.
closest to Siskiyou Lake. They brought with them a canoe that they carried and then paddled 2.5 miles to Ryan Island, which is barely a mile long, and then hiked Ryan Island. This was the plan for a relaxing getaway with mom. Then they got lost. And by the way, they said they only saw between 20 and 30 people the entire time they were on this trip. There's no one there, right? They get lost.
They get lost on the island that's only a mile?
I think they got lost after they visited that island, saw there was no boulder, and then returned to the bigger island.
Uh-huh.
And the boulder had been their only landmark.
They're
like, we're here to prove that this boulder doesn't exist. Also, it is our guide point and our compass for this trip.
Poor planning.
The only things that happen on this island evidently are wolves and one moose. And when they told the people about the fact that they saw the moose, they didn't see any wolves, but they saw the moose, to which people responded, "Oh yeah, you saw Bruce. Bruce the moose.
Bruce the moose."
There is evidently a dueling groups of people that believe that the moose is the predator on the island or the wolves are the predator on the island. They haven't decided which one is the alpha.
There is not a lot going on in this island.
No. They'll get into fist fights over that too. I got a question about how if Bruce is the moose on the island, I mean, there are no more moose on that island in 10 years, right? Like,
yeah.
How's Bruce going to procreate? And how did he get onto the island?
Bruce is the story here. Why don't we get some deeper analysis of Bruce the Moose?
That's what I want.
Does he occasionally head over across the border to Thunder Bay, or
yeah?
Is he always on the island?
Bruce's boys come by in a fucking pontoon boat once a month.
So Dickie and his mom, 18 miles of hiking. At one point, they lose the trail. It goes into night. They are completely lost. It's 3 a.m. It's completely dark. They have no idea where they are. They don't know where the wolves are. They find the ranger station, luckily, and the ranger tells them they're still 10 miles away from the lodge where they landed, and they would have missed their flight off the island if the ranger hadn't driven them back there. So this was their escapade in attempting to debunk Moose Boulder. I
would like to think that when they were in that car with that ranger, and the ranger was helping them get back, they got into like a casual conversation. Oh, what are y'all doing here? Oh, we were just here to see Moose Boulder, but it turns out it's not real. And like the ranger's just like, oh, really? You didn't see it, did you?
You missed the turn off to the lodge where we pick up the plane.
No. I'm just taking you around the scenic route. You folks came all the way out. So you say you didn't see it. That doesn't necessarily mean it isn't there, though. Maybe you say yourself you got turned around.
No, we definitely proved that it's not there. But again, I think you're driving the wrong direction now. Clearly the wrong direction at this point.
What's the right direction? What's the wrong direction? What's a real boulder? What's a fake boulder?
I mean, we know what's real and what's fake with. So, why are we stopping? I don't understand why we're even stopping right now. It seems. Whoa.
Will you help me? Just help me for a second. Get a couple shovels out of the trunk for me. Gotta do some park business.
So, Tom, I want to ask you, is this a badass? Is this Chronicles of a Badass? This is my backdoor Chronicles of a Badass story. These people debunked a myth.
Did they, though? Did they?
The Atlas Obscura took down their article.
Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Oh no!
Did they go? So they brought a canoe, but did they bring a GPS? Did they go to the coordinates?
They admit themselves they were lost and didn't know where they were.
It's true. They did go to those coordinates. He says,
"I'm a Moose Boulder believer."
There's nothing I can
Moose
say.
Boulder truther.
The Moose Boulder is out there.
Listen, you can't.
Somewhere.
What do you know about Moose Boulder? Listen, they've got 5G. They've got nanites. Okay, in the atmosphere, blocking the view of Moose Boulder.
I'm looking at Siskowit Lake on Google Maps right now. I can zoom in on my own house and see furniture in the backyard, but for some reason, this island is blurry.
What are they trying to hide?
They hiding? What is the government hiding? Why don't they want us to see Moose Boulder?
Follow the money, follow the moose.
They got bats. They got 5G. They got a basement in the pizza parlor. It's all happening.
They've got a pizza
when you put
in the basement
mask
parlor.
on, all you breathe is CO2. Think about it.
Yeah, Lake News.
Yeah, there it is.
Lake News.
Jeff, it's not often someone writes your title for you.
This is why Tom is the perfect guest. Lake News.
But I do want to bring this back in. We have all worked, whether we are actively doing so or not. We've all worked in journalism before, and we've all worked in internet journalism, and we have all seen this happen. I'm sure there will be a day. I remember walking in, to Discovery, and there would be a day where it's like, we got to do a video on this real quick, and it's not the fault of the people asking for it, right? The people asking for that are executives and producers, and they just know this is what everybody's talking about. And so they're like, we should do a video on this. It's what everybody's talking about. And then you look and you realize you're like, oh no, everybody's citing the same fucking source. And the same source is nothing.
Yeah.
It's
well, and I have two questions about this. First of all is, would you have stopped at Atlas Obscura? Because I probably would have. I would have been like, oh, they're trustworthy. They're reliable. I've never run across anything they had in there that didn't turn out to be true. So I might have stopped right there. Like, oh, Atlas Obscura says Moose Boulder, blah, 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 blah.
And if you're Atlas Obscura, you have your two sources because you've got the park putting it in their literature, and then you have the original geological survey that mentions it. So you've got what you need.
Here's my other question is, once you've dug down, how did it get started?
Well, Dickey believes that the second source, the Wikipedia entry, wasn't malicious, wasn't trying to perpetuate a hoax, that it was an honest report, honest entry.
But where did they get it from?
Somehow somebody decided the top level was perhaps somebody being flip or making something up to say something clever. What if, and it got turned into a definitely is.
That's so interesting. That is so fascinating. So now the epilogue of all this is, of course, that all the Moose Boulder stuff has been taken down. Obviously, the parks removed it from their stuff. Atlas Obscura has removed it, right?
Yeah, right. And it's been edited. The Wikipedia has been edited. And this article that I'm telling you about is on Atlas Obscura, explaining why they are wrong or were wrong.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. This actually dovetails really nicely with the story that I want to talk about this week. But before we do that, give us some money. Go to Patreon and give us some money.
This is the only way you'll ensure that we give you the truth about Moose Boulder that no one else is willing to tell you. It's real. It exists. You can visit it.
But we can't listen. Listen, we're already on so many government lists, okay? We need to hide this sensitive information behind a paywall.
The national parks can't see it if it's behind a paywall. That's
because they have no money. We've defunded them. They have no money for a Patreon. You give just $1 a month, that's more than discretional spending that all of the national parks have. This bit is depressing me. Here's what you get. When you give us money on Patreon, you get bonus episodes, you get early episodes, you get access to the Discord where we debunk conspiracy theories all the time. Also, we talk a lot about Animal Crossing. I don't know, man. We do a lot. And we should also say that we will have a bonus episode with our guest, Tom Merritt, for patrons only. You give just $1 a month, you get access to that episode. You give a little bit more, you get a little bit more. Head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. I want to talk about this thing that I found that is about how conspiracy theories emerge and how you can tell a real conspiracy from a false conspiracy.
Okay.
I think
that seems pertinent.
it seems incredibly pertinent, right? A very interesting thing is, especially right now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff in my feed that's just like, whoa, how did a literal pandemic turn into a political issue, right? And in the same, by the same token, I'm seeing a lot of videos in my feed of people who are saying a lot of things about where the virus comes from, what happens if you wear a mask, what happens if you don't wear a mask, everything up to and including the government is trying to make you wear a mask because they want to know who's compliant and who's not. That's a thing people are saying about wearing a mask when there is a virus outside.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like, well, where do these things start and how do you tell information from disinformation on the internet? And I think that's going to be, in the next 50 years, the next generation, this is going to be the number one most important fucking skill a person has in the world, is being able to tell information from misinformation online.
Do you think it's the most important skill, or it will end up being the most frustrating skill? Because I feel like we're getting into the ignorance is bliss era, where literally just not being able to know truth from fiction, maybe that's just going to be easier. It'll just be so frustrating when you realize how many people believe so much bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
How many 19th century newspapers do you read, Jeff?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because if you go back and read them, they didn't have objectivity. And people believed crazy stuff back then.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is in 50 years, they're going to look back, kids are going to look back and go, they believed? How did they even bother believing that? How did that even work? How did that convince anyone?
Yeah. This is like the leeches as medicine of geopolitical news.
It is kind of like that, right? Where these things all start somewhere. And there was this study by it was done here here in my bedroom where I record. No, it was done here in LA at UCLA, from the UCLA College and the UCLA Samueli School of Engineering. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to figure out if there is an automatic way to tell the difference between a genuine conspiracy theory and a false conspiracy theory through AI. They want to build
through AI.
They want to build an AI.
Let the robots figure it out.
They're doing a great job so far. Here's what I'm going to say. My algorithm and my feeds right now, all they do is surface truth and justice and good news and actual facts and useful information. But
man, you're so right. Just give all the power to the robots. They'll never.
When you say a true conspiracy theory, what does that mean?
Okay, so they use two examples, and these are the two examples that they attempted to train their AI on. And I will say
horseshit and bullshit.
Yeah.
The two examples. Is it horseshit or is it bullshit?
Because bulls aren't real, Tom. Look it up.
Right. Yeah. Bulls are from the mythical city of Chicago. It doesn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, here's what I'll say before we start. If you think about how good the algorithm's gotten at surfacing lies and trash, surely in the hands of a good person, you could make it do the opposite just as easily. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's where they're coming from. But the two, you know what I mean? So like, if you're not getting money for advertising, maybe, and you're doing it altruistically, maybe you could surface actual real information.
But you're saying there's a distinction between a conspiracy theory and something else that is a not conspiracy, that it is...
Well, it's things. I guess it's let's call it a conspiracy and a myth. Let's do that. A conspiracy and a myth or folklore that people believe,
Gotcha.
Right? Because there's a conspiracy that's a theory, and then you prove the conspiracy to be true. So the two that they use are Bridgegate. In 2013, there was this scandal in New Jersey where people were saying that politicians were shutting down lanes of a bridge for politically motivated reasons. They wanted to get more money for specific budgets, and in order to do so, they were fucking up traffic on the bridge and fucking up people's lives on a day-to-day basis to get a little bit more money. And so that was
Chris Christie, right?
Yeah. This is the Chris Christie thing, and that started as a conspiracy. That started as like, hey, the government is doing this. Let's look into it. Here's what we found. You know what I mean? People were saying this, and then they had to prove it true. The second one they used was good old Comet Pizza, the Pizzagate myth, right?
So Bridgegate turned out to be true. They were, in fact, affecting lanes because of politics?
Politics and money, yeah. Chris Christie wanted to get additional money, and I think there was some sort of like committee stuff that he was trying to do. It was graft. It was crooked shit.
So the machine learning algorithm they're trying to train is to say, could you, without doing the investigation, tell that Bridgegate would end up proving true, but Comet Pizza wouldn't?
Yes. And so the idea is to train this AI to look for origins and then connections. Because what they found is there is a structural difference. If you look at the lattice work of an actual thing that will eventually be proven true, and, you know, some of the exaggerations that come up around it, and something like Pizzagate, which is entirely and essentially false, right? The way those stories will spread and the connections and the nodes, if you picture the netting and the web of those stories, will be fundamentally different, was their theory.
And machine learning's really good at finding that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to know what it's looking for. You just say, look for this kind of pattern. And it's like, great, let me see if I can figure that out.
This is literally an AI that's trained to determine the difference between lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yes.
It's a Mark II AI.
It's a stretch, and I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go because you're a guest.
You're too generous.
So they actually ran it, and they say, now this is the first initial study. They're not saying that this is an AI that's ready to go. Don't deploy this tomorrow. But they did find intense structural differences between these two stories that you can apply to things that are happening now. So one of the things that they showed is that false conspiracy narratives are held together by threads that connect multiple characters, places, and things. But if you cut one of those threads out, the rest of the story can't work without it. Whereas a real conspiracy, something that will eventually be proven real, has multiple connections, right? Because real things are a little messy. And the way they made this, the way they explain this is, if you take one of the characters or story elements out of the theory doesn't work at all. So with Pizzagate, with Comet Pizza, you had to use the WikiLeaks dump of emails, and you had to interpret those emails in a specific way for any of the rest of the story to work. No matter who you said was at Comet Pizza, no matter what you said was going on, no matter what you said was happening, and all of the false details that pop up around it, if you remove those emails, there's nothing else connecting any of those things together. So you can say, well, there were these emails where they mentioned Comet Pizza, but like, are there literal pizza receipts? Are there documents that show that these people went there? Are there documents that show there is a basement in Comet Pizza, which it turns out there wasn't, right? Like, all of these things come together, but if you pull one of them out, like if you pull out this false basement, the same way you pull out the emails, all of a sudden Comet Pizza doesn't work. There's no basement in Comet Pizza. So where are they? Not anymore, because they filled it in. But that's the thing, is conspiracy theories will then go, well, they could have done this since then, or well, they could have done that since then. But everything falls apart without one detail.
That's the nefarious thing about conspiracy theory thinking, is that the evidence of it not being true to the conspiracy thinker is evidence that it is true.
Right.
You know, there's no receipts for the pizza. Of course there isn't.
Well,
That's how I know it's true.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. because they made sure that there were I mean, if it wasn't true, there'd be a few receipts around because they wouldn't be being careful to cover things up.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And of course,
The absence of evidence
and of course,
is evidence of absence.
Nobody said they're actually going to Comet Pizza. They just hint around it in code because if they actually said anything about it even once, they'd be caught.
They say no receipts.
Yeah.
Please.
So whereas with the Bridgegate, like, there are emails between the two people that were involved in Bridgegate because they work for the same part of the government. You know what I mean? Like, all these government officials have emails. All of these traffic cameras have evidence. It's all real. You can pull the traffic cams out, and there's still news reports. There's still people.
Yeah.
There's all this supporting information.
And you don't have to make up well, of course there isn't, because there is, because there's a
exactly
thing that you can point to.
And and it's easy to say, well, the people who believe a conspiracy theory, who are deep, your people who are into QAnon or things like that, they will find a way to fill this in because they have to, they need to, right? It's part of their belief, and they're going to make this conspiracy work. Where this is going to be helpful is it's going to be helpful to people like your great aunt who sees one thing on the news or one thing in her Facebook feed about how if you put a mask on for 8 hours, you breathe too much CO2 and you die. Like, it's going to make sure that, eventually an AI will be able to track that information back and be like, no, this is coming from a bad place. We should not surface this. Or,
I mean, I'll be honest, that one's pretty easy to debunk.
Sure. But that's the thing.
Literally put a mask on for a couple of hours.
Oh, sure. Risk your life.
Sure.
Put on a mask.
Yeah, I'm going to be the guinea pig for that.
You go
one.
ahead, Jeff.
Sure.
Well, I mean, what this is going to be good at labeling, slowing down promotion, identification. It's not really going to be good at convincing.
No.
It's going to be good at keeping it from spreading. I mean, it would be good for Verizon, who's like, I don't want to advertise on Facebook right now because I might end up next to QAnon. If Facebook could say, hey, we have this machine learning that can tell when QAnon has changed their name and started a new group because it can recognize these conspiracy theories. It would be good for stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are people who will just casually believe things if they hear it enough, right? Because they're not invested. It doesn't mean they're dumb. It means they're not invested. Right.
But also dumb. And I'm curious, it feels like, I'm curious the details of how this works, because it kind of feels like, and maybe it's just based on the two examples you noted, but it feels like you need a complete data set to know, right? How would the AI know it's analyzing enough to draw a conclusion, right? If you're at the beginning of the conspiracy theory, like the first couple of days of Bridgegate kind of felt like it could go either way, right?
Sure.
It felt like we were onto a real story, but it also felt so preposterous.
Well, and that's that's another thing that they mentioned. So first of all, you start at the end. You start with all the information that's out now, and you trace it back. You don't go from back to front. You go from front to back.
But that's the problem, is we need something from front to back, right? Because we need, the useful bit of the AI would be, hey, I just got this wacky email. What's the deal?
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the bullshit stream, Well,
it's going to be one of those things where, I mean, obviously it can't time travel, but it's going to be constantly like looking.
But what if it could?
What if it could?
What if the government has been able to time travel this entire time, Anthony?
I mean, there's no proof. There's no proof that there hasn't.
You can't say they haven't, right?
I haven't seen plans for a time machine, which is like, come on. Shouldn't they be planning?
Pretty sure Lincoln's holding an iPhone.
Shouldn't they be planning for a time machine? There would be something. Why wouldn't they? But one of the things that they say is there is quick build versus slow burn. False conspiracy theories tend to have a quick build. They tend to happen real fast and take hold real quickly, and the narrative stays the same. Whereas like slow burn would be something like Bridgegate, where it's like, well, I'm hearing a lot of different things and it's all really weird and nothing's coalescing. And that's because real information takes a long time to verify. And it takes a long time for the actual like clean and clear narrative to be built out of it. And so when you send this AI back, you're like, well, we want to know if this thing that's being said right now is real. AI, find all the information that's out there on this now and trace it back and see how quickly it coalesces.
Man, it really feels like this AI is rife for conspiracy thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, Tom, would you believe if this tech came out and
Zuckerberg says tomorrow, don't worry, we've created this AI.
We have the AI that figured it out, and then there's like big headline, something that you were curious about whether it was real or not. AI says not real.
Or Zuckerberg
AI says real.
That's why I said it's not going to be good at convincing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to
Right.
be good at slowing the spread. It's going to be good at fending off the propagation. But there's a whole separate issue of how do you convince someone their conspiracy theory isn't true? Because the machine learning algorithm is not a rhetorical device. It's just good at being trained to identify, hey, this one doesn't seem like it's true, right?
Yeah.
And to your question, Jeff, the way machine learning works, and I always say machine learning instead of AI because AI means nothing. AI is just like a big, catch-all word for a bunch of stuff. But machine learning particularly works by saying, let's give you the cats and teach you what a cat looks like so that you can then create new cats that never existed before. Right. And that's what you're doing here is you give them full conspiracy theories and you're like, these are true, these are not. Get good at being able to identify that. Now we can apply you unsupervised to something that's new. And we know you're so good when we did it, when we knew the answer, that you'll probably be right about these early parts.
And I think it would work. It would probably work the way a lot of these things do now, which is certain stuff gets flagged and sent to a queue, and then there has to be a team of humans sitting and going, okay, yeah, go ahead and flip the switch and make that fake. My issue would be
Dewey defeats Truman.
Yeah,
got it. Done.
All good. No notes. Move on. But my thing is like, okay, this algorithm is created. It's licensed out to people like Facebook, people like any media company. Anybody can license out this algorithm because it's software. What are people going to do with this software that's bad? Mm-hmm. What are the bad things that come from this?
Yeah.
Refine your conspiracy theories.
Exactly.
Make them more potent, more believable.
You make a generative adversarial network out of this algorithm and another one so that they train each other to come up with bulletproof conspiracy theories.
Dude, we are Gibsoning and Stevensoning so much faster than I ever thought we would.
Yeah,
I never thought it was going to happen in my lifetime. I never thought, and we are getting there, man. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be like literal cyberpunk style fucking information wars. We don't say info wars anymore. We say the full thing. And it's going to be like, you are going to have to be able to tell. You're going to have software and counter software, and people are going to have to be smart enough to figure this shit out for themselves. It's frightening.
And none of it's going to work.
None of it's going to work well at all.
Because it never does.
That's the problem.
Never does.
The problem is our software is buggy. Human software is so buggy that we are actually designed to make those connections where none exist. Our software is built to go, well, that certainly makes a whole lot of sense. When it's,
our software is well optimized just for living on a savanna, hunting and gathering.
Right. Yeah. Give us a gazelle.
Our software is like
our
software is like, when you go into when you go in and you're working in an office for the first time at like some company that you think is like really high tech, and then they show you like the back end to fill out your invoice or your time cards. And you look at it and you're like, holy shit, what is this? This was built before there were even computer mice. And they're like, yeah, but it works. And like the whole system's built on it. And if we like
and we got a couple of workarounds, just ignore question 7.
If we get rid of it now, we have to rebuild the whole company. And like, that's our software. It still works.
Well, when it's optimized for, man, Gary died. And yesterday Gary ate from that field over there. We should probably not eat from that field over there.
That field,
hey, did you hear that? That might be a tiger. Yeah. Let's run.
No, that's Tiger Field is what we call that. Wait, Gary died from eating something bad, but it was a tiger that did it? Shut up. We don't talk about Tiger Field. It's cursed.
Or Barry.
Tom, as somebody,
Gary.
You think about this.
Gary is dead to us. literally.
Tom, you think about this stuff all the time. I mean, this is kind of your beat. Like, is like how big of a is this as huge of a problem? Do you think it's looming as huge as I think it's looming, or
it's actually part of our software to think it's always a looming problem that's larger than it is. So I always try to remember that is like, you know, we've been predicting our own doom. Like, man, we invented nuclear bombs when we really had no idea what they did, right? We're like, oh, we could put nuclear bombs in a jet and in your car and in your refrigerator, and it's just going to make the world perfect. And then we started to figure it out. So I try to comfort myself that like it's never as bad as it looks like it's going to be, because it never ends up working the way you think it does. And there's always a way to mitigate it. And that's my hope.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, it's a little more optimistic than we like here, but we'll take it. We'll take it. Tom, where do people hear all of your many things and hundreds of podcasts and read all your great books?
Yeah, go to tommerritt.com, 2 R's, 2 T's. And that has all my shows, all my books, and all of that. The one I'm most proud about right now is called Know a Little More at knowalittlemore.com, which is just me going into one topic every time. So 5G, ARM,
5G gave us the
safe
coronavirus
harbor.
because of the bats.
Yeah. Every week we talk about bats. There may not be bats. So don't be disappointed if you listen and there's not bats. But yeah, it's just deep dives on tech topics.
And I feel like 7 out of 10 times it does go back to the bats.
I mean,
and remember, if you're a patron, we've got a bonus episode with Tom that you can listen to right now as well. And if you're not a patron, go give us your money. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.